She walked into the boardroom carrying nothing except a notebook. Executives ignored her. The chairman didn't even look up. Someone quietly pointed toward the coffee machine, assuming she knew where it was. She didn't correct them. She simply smiled and waited. 10 minutes later, the chairman ordered her to take notes in front of the entire board. The room laughed. One executive even slid an empty chair toward the wall, saving the chairman's seat for someone important. She said only one word, "Of course." Then she calmly opened her notebook, because before that meeting ended, the chairman would realize he had underestimated the only person he couldn't afford to ignore. The same people who treated her like an assistant were about to discover why one empty chair could change everything. The boardroom was already full. Executives reviewed reports. Lawyers arranged contracts. Everyone waited for the annual voting session to begin. At the far end of the table, one chair remained empty. The chairman's chair. No one questioned it. The woman from the hallway walked in quietly, still carrying the same notebook. She chose a seat near the back. Without saying a word, one executive leaned toward another. "The new assistant?" The other nodded without even looking twice. No one asked her name. They simply decided who she was. The chairman finally looked up. His eyes stopped on her notebook. Then he pointed toward the front of the room. "Chairman." "Good. You can take today's meeting notes. We'll need an accurate record." A few executives smiled. Someone quietly pushed a notepad toward her. The meeting hadn't even started, and they had already decided where she belonged. She didn't argue. She simply opened her notebook, as if she had accepted the assignment. But before the first vote was called, one unexpected question would make the entire room fall silent. The meeting finally began. Financial reports filled the screens, quarterly numbers, expansion plans. Everything looked perfectly prepared. The chairman smiled with confidence. Every director nodded in agreement. The vote seemed like nothing more than a formality. Then the company lawyer quietly raised a hand. "Before we begin, there's one shareholder we still need to confirm." The chairman frowned. "They're probably running late. We'll proceed." The lawyer didn't move. Instead, he slowly looked across the room. His eyes stopped on the quiet woman with the notebook for just a second, then looked away. She noticed, but said nothing. She simply turned another page and waited. The chairman ignored the lawyer's hesitation, but one quiet glance across the room had already changed everything. The presentation continued. Charts replaced charts. Forecasts replaced forecasts. The room settled back into confidence, as if the interruption had never happened. Then the company secretary quietly approached the lawyer. She handed him a sealed envelope. He opened it, read one page. His expression changed. Without saying a word, he walked to the chairman and placed the document beside him. "Chairman, what is this?" Lawyer, "A confirmation. I think you should read it." The chairman barely glanced at the paper, then pushed it aside. "We'll deal with it later. Let's finish the meeting." Across the room, the woman calmly closed her notebook. For the first time, she looked directly at the chairman, not with anger, not with satisfaction, only quiet certainty. The chairman pushed the document aside, without realizing it was the only paper in the room he couldn't afford to ignore. The chairman straightened his tie, then looked around the table. "I think we've wasted enough time. Let's move to the shareholder vote." Board members reached for their voting folders. The company secretary prepared the electronic register. The room returned to its familiar rhythm, confident, predictable. Just before the first vote was called, the company lawyer stood. "I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. We can't proceed." The room fell silent. The chairman frowned. And why not? Lawyer. Because the attendance register hasn't been completed. A director looked around the room. Is someone still missing? Another executive quietly checked the seating list. No one answered. The lawyer closed the register, then calmly looked toward the back of the room. For the second time that morning, his attention settled on the woman with the notebook. She didn't move. She simply met his eyes. The chairman followed the lawyer's gaze, and for the first time that morning, he began to question the assumption he'd made the moment she walked through the door. The lawyer broke the silence. His voice remained calm. The attendance register requires one final signature. The chairman sighed impatiently. Then call the shareholder. We're done waiting. The lawyer didn't reach for his phone. He simply closed the register, then looked across the room. They're already here. Confused faces turned toward one another. Directors exchanged uncertain glances. Someone quietly whispered, "Who?" The lawyer stepped aside. His gesture was small, but unmistakable. It pointed toward the woman holding the notebook. For the first time that morning, no one saw an assistant. They saw a question. The chairman stared at her. His confidence faded, not into panic, into doubt. And doubt was something he had never expected to feel in his own boardroom. The chairman finally asked the question he should have asked the moment she walked through the door. The chairman slowly stood. His voice was calmer now. "May I ask, who exactly are you?" The room waited. Every eye remained fixed on her. For the first time, she closed her notebook and stood. She walked toward the front of the boardroom. Not quickly, not proudly, just confidently. She stopped beside the empty chair. "My name is Evelyn Carter. I believe you're sitting in my meeting." No one laughed. No one whispered. Even the chairman remained silent. The company lawyer slid a folder across the table. "Mr. Chairman, the transfer became effective this morning. It has been fully approved." The chairman looked down at the document, then back at Evelyn. For the first time that day, he realized this meeting had never belonged to him. But the document revealed one more detail, a detail that would leave the entire board speechless. The lawyer opened the folder. His voice was calm, but every word changed the room. "Lawyer, as of 8 o'clock this morning, the majority share transfer has been completed." A director leaned forward. "How many shares?" Lawyer, 62%. The room froze. One executive slowly removed his glasses. Another quietly lowered his pen. The chairman never looked away from Evelyn. The lawyer continued. "Effective immediately, Ms. Carter becomes the majority shareholder and chairwoman of the board." No applause, no celebration, only silence. The same silence that follows when power changes hands. Evelyn gently picked up the notebook and placed it in front of the chairman. "Evelyn, I believe you won't be needing my meeting notes." No one smiled, because everyone understood. The meeting had just taken a direction no one expected. The chairman thought losing his chair was the worst thing that could happen. He was about to learn it wasn't even close. No one spoke. The silence felt heavier than any argument. Then Evelyn looked around the room. Not at the chairman, but at every director. She calmly opened another folder. "I have no interest in embarrassing anyone. My interest is protecting this company." Several directors exchanged uneasy glances. The chairman forced a smile. Protecting it from what? Evelyn slid a thin file across the table. The cover carried only one word. "Confidential, Evelyn. For the past 6 months, An independent governance review has been taking place. Every major decision, every executive approval, every financial exception has been documented. The chairman reached for the file. Evelyn gently placed her hand on it. Not yet. She looked toward the company lawyer, then toward the independent directors. They deserve to see it first. The chairman's confidence finally cracked. Not because someone had accused him, but because he suddenly didn't know what they already knew. The investigation wasn't looking for one mistake. It had uncovered a pattern that could end the chairman's career before the meeting was over. The independent directors quietly opened the file, page after page. The room grew heavier. No one interrupted. No one defended the chairman. Questionable approvals, hidden executive bonuses, board decisions signed without full disclosure. Each page told the same story. Power had been used. For one man, not for the company. The chairman finally broke the silence. These documents prove nothing. They're taken out of context. Before anyone could respond, one independent director slowly stood. I've seen enough. Another stood beside him. So have I. One after another. More directors rose from their seats. The company lawyer looked around the room. Under the company's governance policy, a vote to remove the chairman may now be called. No one objected. Evelyn remained seated. She didn't ask for the vote. She didn't need to. The board had reached its own conclusion. For the first time all morning, the chairman looked around the room, searching for support. He found none. The chairman was about to lose more than his position. He was about to hear the decision he never believed possible. The company lawyer looked around the boardroom. The motion has been called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. One hand rose, then another, then another. Within seconds, nearly every hand was in the air. The chairman remained perfectly still. His eyes moved around the room, searching for one person, anyone, who still stood beside him. No one did. The lawyer lowered his notes. The motion passes. Effective immediately. You are no longer chairman of the board. Silence filled the room. The chairman slowly removed the nameplate from in front of him. He looked at it for a brief moment, then quietly placed it on the table, without another word. He walked toward the door. No one stopped him. Only after the door closed did Evelyn rise from her chair. She walked to the front of the room, not to celebrate, but to begin. Evelyn, today isn't about replacing one person. It's about rebuilding trust. And from this moment forward, that's exactly what we'll do. The meeting was over, but one quiet gesture before Evelyn left the room would remind everyone why real leadership never needs to announce itself. The room remained silent, not because anyone was afraid to speak, but because there was nothing left to argue. The company lawyer walked toward the head of the table. He gently moved the chairman's nameplate aside, then looked at Evelyn. The chair is yours? Every executive watched, expecting a victory, expecting a smile, maybe even applause. Evelyn walked to the front of the room. She rested her hand on the chairman's chair, then quietly pulled it back. Instead, she chose the seat beside it. Evelyn, leadership isn't about where you sit. It's about the decisions you make, when everyone else is watching. No one applauded. One by one, the directors stood, not because anyone asked them to, but out of genuine respect. The respect they had failed to show when she first entered the room. Evelyn picked up the same notebook they had mistaken for an assistant's. She looked at it for a moment, then smiled. Sometimes, people don't reveal their true position. They simply let others reveal their true character. The boardroom would remember that meeting for years, not because a chairman lost his seat, but because everyone discovered the most powerful person in the room never needed to prove it. Sometimes, the loudest voice in the room isn't the strongest. The greatest victories don't come from revenge, they come from character. Because sometimes, the quietest person in the room changes everything. If this story kept you watching until the end, please leave a like, subscribe to Revenge Diary, and tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were in Evelyn's place? Until the next story, thank you for watching.